Legends Arceus is an amazing game where you can get right into the shiny hunting fun, but only if you've got a handle on a few key concepts. Whether it's your first playthrough or maybe your fifth, I think some of these game mechanics revolving around alphas, quests, even this strange old woman might surprise you. And why not start out with something that I think we all could agree we could have more of? Now, I see so many people avoiding alpha Pokemon while they're playing this game. And you know what? Those are the same type of people that can't afford Ultra Balls, they can't afford Jet Balls, they can't afford Iron Chunks, they can't afford Sticky Globs. If you want money, alpha Pokemon are the key. The Obsidian Fieldlands is classic for this. If you weren't sure of the proper route, there are resources you can look up online, but here's mine. After I found this on Reddit one time, I was hooked. We're gonna see how much money we get. I go to Luxio, even though I sometimes forget where it is. Stay far away, Jet Ball Farm, there's one. Then over to Gyarados, even though it's not the easiest one to catch, so I sometimes skip them. I hate the water in Arceus sometimes. Feel the wrath of my sticky globs. Then across the mountain to Snorlax. Have to do Snorlax every time. Man, I love Jet Ball spamming. Then around the bend to Alakazam. Tough one to get in position on. There we go. Across the water to Infernape, who literally won't stay in the ball. Nothing beats a Jet Ball holiday. Across the water again to Lopunny. Onto the Fluffy Bunny. Easiest one to catch out of all of them. Get your head out of the gutter. Okay, maybe second easiest because then you go to BIBAREL. This is the second best dam that's ever been in a Pokemon game. All you Pokepark fans out there. Oh my gosh, I almost missed the Scyther. Oh, and look, a Combi for good measure. You can find some ones that aren't there every time on your little journey. It's a good way to build up your alpha decks, you know? Scyther! Oh, this is a good backstrike. Over to Golbat, who you can only catch at night. Did Golbat just fly away? Down the cliff to catch the Magikarp, but only if you like the water again. Up to the best alpha Pokemon ever, which is Blissey. We'll talk about that more in a second. Oh, also, anytime you see these shiny rocks on your way, yeah, get these shiny rocks on your way. Shiny rocks are always good. You get little Stardust and stuff. Down to Graveler. And then Heracross. Everybody says the fifth beetle is Pete Best. I think it's this guy. Up the mountain to Stantler. The thick Stantler, if you know what I'm talking about. He's in the little green part of the mountain. You know, the Highlands. Down to Parasect. And I think this cliff is usually a good spot. It's all about where you're standing with your Jet Balls, right? You need to be out of the range of them being able to get angry at you. Over to Kricketune. Over yonder. Hide in the grass. Keep your distance. Good. Keep following that path to Staravia. You know, if you need to use some globs, you need to use some globs. I don't like to waste globs. Typically, I like to save my globs. Save the globs! Then keep going around the mountain to Floatzel. This is also a great way to find shinies, by the way, because you basically cover the whole map. So if any shiny spawned in, you'd find it. It'd be crazy if a shiny spawned right after I said that. But it won't. But Floatzel. I like calling it Floatzel, not Floatzel, because it's wet, because it's a water type. Back over to Rapidash. Found a lost satchel on my way. There's some good merit points too. Rapidash is kind of a tough one because there's no like spot to line it up. It kind of moves around a lot, so you have to just know your depth perception there. And then finally, you return to camp to check your rewards. So first of all, we are going to go into the Galaxy member. We're going to go to sell items. We're going to look at what we got. So those alphas gave us 4 Seeds of Mastery. That's 12 grand right there. So 12 grand we can sell if we're not going to use those. They gave us 5 medium EXP candy, which is worth 7,500. So we're at 19,500. They gave us 3 large EXP candies, which is 13,500. That brings us to 33,000. And we got some extra items from running around, like some Stardust. I had a little bit of Stardust first, but we'll add 5,000 to that. So that's 38,000 just from items. Let's go look though. If we're at 38,000 right now, let's see what Laventon gives us for the alphas. Insane. 43,000 Poké Dollars. So we just got 15 minutes of running around, almost 100,000 Poké Dollars. That's crazy. You definitely don't have to just take my route though. You can structure it in any way, whether it's a shiny you want or if you're trying to complete some research tasks along the way. I'm just grateful that Arceus has such great movement because it just feels good to do it. You're having fun while you're running around the map. And every now and then you'll definitely find a random shiny. While I don't feel like I have as much success, I do enjoy the Coronet Highlands as well because the Alpha route is super fun. And if you start at the top camp, the movement flying down the mountain is so easy. Also, I feel like I learn something new every time I'm going through the map. His eyes are closed. They're still open. his pupils just shut. Into the ball with ye. Even by just catching a few alphas, I netted a ton of grit items and 3 large EXP candy, which sell for quite a bit at any shop. You can also just sell them to the Galaxy team member at any camp by selecting I'd like to do some shopping and then just switching over to sell mode. Of course, don't do this in an area with a massive mass outbreak, as instead of your normal alpha spawns, you're just gonna get outbreaks in their place and there's not much money you can make off of those. But you could get shinies. But hey, money isn't everything, you know? You know? Perhaps one of my favorite things about Legends Arceus is the ability to catch underleveled Pokemon and quickly get them up to speed. For instance, I caught this Bidoof at level 3. Catching 1 Alpha Snorlax alone brought it up to level 14. And then if I caught 1 more Alpha, Alakazam right next to it, it leveled up to 19 and already evolved. Arceus certainly feels like one of the most engaging games in general, but it's definitely one of the easiest and most engaging games to level up your Pokemon in. You don't even have to have a strong Pokemon with you in your party because you can simply just throw Pokeballs out. And obviously gone are the days of switch training or EXP share splitting. There's no more grinding for your underleveled mons. But watch this. If you think 2 alphas were impressive, let's catch another Bidoof. This time he's level 2. And if you're willing to travel a bit, you can find the holy grail of EXP that I'm sure a lot of you already know about. Alpha Blissey over here in the Obsidian Fieldlands is super high level and kind of tough to battle. But if you know your way around a wing ball or a jet ball, it's a pretty easy catch. And catching this thing took Bidoof from level 2 to level 25. I think I could repeat this Blissey hunt like 3 times in the time it took for its health bar to go down in Diamond and Pearl. But it does get a little finicky with the respawn mechanics, having to go back to camp, whether or not sleeping is going to respawn the Blissey, or if you have to return to Jubilife Village first. For me, between my Blissey farming, I like to go over to the Cobalt Coastlands, and in this lower right section of the map, you can actually find an Alpha Chansey. And I hadn't mentioned it yet, but Blissey and Chansey, in addition to their actual EXP, can drop some serious EXP candy. In this case, Chansey dropped a medium EXP candy, which I could use to just level up my Pokemon some more, or you could turn around and sell it to the Galaxy team member, like we mentioned earlier, for 1,500. Plus, reporting the Chansey catch alone is worth 2,500. So we get a total of 4,000 Pokédollars just for farming some EXP. Alphas are truly goated for money and experience in this game. But even with money and experience points, this third tip will show you that we have a little bit more use for items in game due to the crafting mechanic specifically. So allow me to introduce you to the most worthwhile NPC in Jubilife Village. It's Farmer Dude. You know, it's like the grandfather of that lady who smoked you with a grotto all those years ago. As you progress through the story, you're going to want to open up more fields for this guy as soon as possible. You can get all sorts of berries from this guy, which are very helpful for catching Pokemon and kind of hard to find sometimes if you don't know which trees to go to. But my favorite thing to farm from this guy throughout the playthrough is the Apricorns. You'll need them to craft all your Pokeballs, and it's just a nice passive way of farming like 30 at a time every time you go back to the village rather than having to worry about slapping trees all the time. This was definitively, at least at the time the game came out, the easiest way to get nature mints and change Pokemon's natures. I'd be bringing Pokemon in from home to Arceus just to change their natures and then bring them back out. I get it, it might be even easier these days, but still it's a really easy way to change your Pokemon's nature in game to just farm these mints. And I just really enjoy this gameplay loop. Also, if you're playing with a friend, a fun prank to pull, you can give this guy your shinies and your friends will think that their shinies were given to the NPC for good.
Does he keep that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just gave away my shiny right on?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
But you can actually switch out the Pokemon later.
Trevor, none of my shinies.
This next one is a guy in Jubilife Village you want to avoid at all costs. Because I'm telling you, Choy is a scam. Never buy anything from this shopkeeper ever. It's so much cheaper to just craft it. Like, I get maybe if you're filthy rich, you're rolling in it. If you want to get fancy and just skip the crafting process, it's like whatever. But you have way too many items anyways. Bonus scam. This guy over here selling EXP candy. Crazy. 50,000 Pokédollars for something I can just pick up and Come on. That is way too expensive. It takes you like 2 seconds to get it from an alpha. Just go grind the EXP that way. Don't be lazy. Listen, the only correct things to buy from this guy, if you really need to, the occasional stealth spray and sticky globs. Gotta keep those sticky globs up, especially if you're not good at distancing yourself from the alphas. But I swear, if you ever buy anything else from this guy, it's like Instacarting if you live a minute walk from the grocery store. I get being lazy. I truly do. I don't get being that lazy. But if you think Choy is the biggest scam in all of Legends Arceus, then boy, you are in for the biggest bust of the century. Nothing makes me more mad than the lies that this girl is selling. And specifically the surcharge of her little rat friend. I want nothing to do with both of you. This is crazy. Nothing to do with both of you. You know what? I'm gonna go to the other camp where you two don't exist. Let's go down here. How the heck did you teleport here? Look at him. Little rat eyes. You just want to be fed like my cat. You don't actually love me. You're just getting played like a fiddle, mate. Listen, I liked the Daybreak update. A lot of people hated it. It made shiny hunting a little harder right off the bat, but then people realized that, okay, there's still a lot of easy ways to get at least most of the shinies. But listen, early on, massive mass outbreaks give you plenty to do, even with just the question marks. Do not give Munchlax the Aglav berries. It doesn't take that much longer to fly around the map simply looking for shinies, and you're going to find more shinies by flying around the whole map for the outbreak than if you're spending your berries and trying to target them early on. If you're gonna find a shiny, odds are you're just gonna find one you need anyways by flying around that whole map, unless you've already completed like 95% of the decks like an absolute maniac. I mean, who would do that, all right? A crazy person, that's who. But again, like, hold off on the Aglavs early on. Munchlax will rip through those things if you're not careful. From experience, early on, I'd spend the Aglavs, I'd go for the Pokemon I think are cool, and you know what happened? I ended up spending months looking for this little purple squirrel, and it wouldn't show up. I learned that the real way to do it, and like I do a lot in Pokemon games, just fight scam with scam. Simply save before going into the massive mass outbreak, then go up to Munchlax, feed him. Like what you see? Go for it. Don't exercise your power as the owner of the god of all Pokemon and simply reset time back to before you wasted your precious goods on such a diabolical glutton.
Go, God. Unleash on the feral cat.
But don't waste your time with those resets early on. It's just not worth it. You've got more valuable things to attend to, like this unassuming guy standing in the Galaxy Hall. Because there's nothing worse than running along in this game, especially if you're in a space-time distortion, because you can't just like reset those. And then this message pops up to tell you, sorry, sir, you don't have space for this item. In a game with crafting and throwing items all over the place, bag space is key. And a lot of players think that this guy is an absolute ripoff. And yes, you're going to need to beat the ever-loving Surskit out of the Misfortune Sisters just to have enough cash to pay for your new bag space. And if you want that 59th bag slot, you are going to have to spend an eventual 1 million Pokédollars just to get that one spot. Insane. Don't do that. But there is an optimal setting, so you don't just want to ignore this guy. I found it to be about 45 bag slots. From that point on, I really never needed more space, and I found that like 30K wasn't really worth the extra spot. But here, just for you, I'll buy some more. Now we're ramping up to the final thing on this list. That's the most game-changing tip you'll hear, especially if you don't recognize this old lady over here. But before we get to that, let's rapid fire 3 lesser-known things that'll probably at least save you a little bit of time throughout your playthrough. The first is the minus button. You can't ride your ride Pokemon in Jubilife Village. And I see so many people all the time just running around, walking pace through the village. And you know, you spend a lot of time there throughout your playthrough. It makes me so frustrated. They are wasting so much time. They at least do have the fast travel points. Use them. It would have been better if they let you ride Wyrdeer, then there would be almost no point to fast travel. But they probably think it would have made Jubilife Village feel a little smaller. But even if you refuse to open your menu for some reason, maybe you're doing a menuless playthrough, you can at the very least hold your left stick in. It'll make you sprint. There's no like sprint meter, but there kinda is. You will run out of sprint after a short amount of time, and then it needs to recharge. Just kind of annoying. But even more annoying is trying to use the heavy ball sets. And I avoided them for the entirety of my Legends Arceus career because feather balls feel the best to use, right? We all know that. And we all know that they're the best for spamming alphas. I'm not saying don't use them for spamming the alphas or catching Pokemon that are far away. It's just so much easier to time whether they break out or not. That was not worth it. But did you know that the catch rates are not actually even across these 3 sets of Pokeballs? The normal brand Pokeballs being the Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra Ball, and then the Feather Balls being the Feather Ball, Wing Ball, and Jet Ball. They all correlate with their catch effectiveness, right? I figured the Heavy Balls would do the same and just had a bonus, but of course because of the debuff of not being able to throw them as far, the Heavy Ball line actually does get a boost. But I'll leave this tip as more of one that you can take for interpretation. Is that boost worth it? I think the buff of the Feather Balls, being able to throw them further and avoid Pokemon getting aggroed at you, is way better than any type of catch boost. And I would have figured that because the Pokeballs are normal catch rates, right? And then the Heavy Balls get a little bit of a boost for being harder to use. I thought that the Feather Balls would kind of get a debuff in the catch effectiveness because they're slightly easier to throw than the normal Pokeballs, right? So if you're out there using normal Pokeballs, you're definitely doing it wrong. But pick your favorite. Use the Heavy Balls, use the Feather Balls. Make the most out of whichever ones you're using, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But while you do that, I'm going to encourage you to ride on the best ride Pokemon in the entire game. Yeah, you need Basculegion to go across the water, but who wants to be in the water anyways? It's kind of janky. How am I supposed to get this guy? How am I supposed to... How? It's so jank. Ursaluna, you only need to evolve a certain few Pokemon and find your lore dumps. Sneasler is only good for climbing things and it feels kind of slow. And while Braviary seems like it is the way to go, and I certainly use it a lot, don't get me wrong, you are much better off using Wyrdeer like 90% of the time. And listen, it's not just about movement. While it may seem like a minor inconvenience to either take the slightly longer route or go out of your way to reach specific points, may I remind you that this game is literally designed around you running around the ground level. Can you collect iron chunks in midair? Can you collect tumblestones while you're flying around on Braviary? The animation of getting onto Braviary just takes so long, and once you're in the air, you can't catch Pokemon, you can't collect items, so you're kind of just trading flying time now for time later, and you might as well just play the game. So play on Wyrdeer. You can get off quickly. You can collect items while you're riding it. He goes almost just as fast as Braviary. If you know how to control the jank, he can even climb mountains faster than Braviary and Sneasler. I believe in the power of Wyrdeer. Just scale the mountains, yeah. The only thing that could have made Wyrdeer perfect is if they made it work somewhat like Basculegion, being able to throw out items and Pokemon while you're riding. But I'm not going to crown Basculegion the best because, man, the water, just trying to catch Pokemon in the water, don't try. Wyrdeer is the best. Okay, now we finally made it to our final tip. Now, if you've made it this far, you're definitely gonna wanna subscribe. You'll catch way more shinies, you'll lose less items, and this guy told me he'd give you discounts on bag space. But one thing that totally takes up bag space, and you're going to want in there regardless, I see barely anybody playing with these. Grandma, she's got a brand new bag over here. On the surface, she seems like a creepy, holistic old lady, but let me tell you, it is totally worth it. Check this out. There it is. Tempting Charm. Let's see how many of these she lets us buy. They're not super cheap and they keep getting more and more expensive, but like, come on. That's Tempting Charm Y. Yeah, so she'll only give you 5. Let's faint less frequently. And I've already bought these, so it's not gonna tell me what they are. Oh my, 15 grand for the 3rd. 25,000 for the 4th. She'd be sending them to my satchel because I'm out of space. So I'm fully gonna buy 7 spots in my bag.
Back to me.
5 for 150 grand. I can't go 7. I'm literally already out of money. That's crazy. I definitely don't have enough for the warding ones, the ones that keep you healthy. But those ones, the 3rd kind of charm doesn't do as much. But let's max out. I mean, I guess we have the money, so let's max out. If your bag does not look like this, you're doing it wrong. Because watch, I'm gonna go to the Highlands, I'm gonna go to the Summit Camp, and we're gonna test something out. I bet y'all are used to getting murked by these alphas, right? Watch how little this thing does to me. Bang. So that used the charm that healed though. So that stopped me from getting paralyzed from that guy, I see. You know what's even better though? Watch this fall damage. Barely anything. Let's fall. Bam. That would have killed me. Although I do have to say, if you jump from high enough, you're still gonna die. So like I said, pop in early in the game, and you'll be running around like you're invincible, jumping off cliffs, not even losing your items. Most of all, just remember, every minute of planning saves about 10 minutes of execution. That's very real in a game that requires some monotonous work, to say the least. Every time you're going after one of these tasks, make sure you're multitasking to the best of your ability. And BIBAREL says, see you in the next one. Look at him sitting there all. Yeah. BIBAREL. Yeah.